This past year with my car has had so many ups and downs, from me getting much more confident working on the car and even buying a supercharger kit for it, to the car getting wrecked and totaled at the end of the year. And so now with the stressful insurance hassles behind me, I need a break. So I'm going to take a road trip through California, and this just isn't going to be any normal trip. This is going to be my ultimate Miata road trip, with 2 weeks, 2 Miatas, multiple canyon roads, and 5 cities. And best of all, I'm going to be visiting some of the most popular Miata aftermarket companies in California. So 949 Racing, Goodwin Racing, and Moss Miata. And on top of all that, I'm going to drag my girlfriend along for this trip, also catch up with my family, and even celebrate my 26th birthday while I'm out there. But this isn't going to be easy. I'm going to have to end up navigating some precarious Airbnbs, almost get stranded on top of a mountain, drive 1,500 miles while navigating some questionable circumstances, and almost get lost along the way. So join me as I take my ultimate Miata road trip. And so we start our journey at the very beginning in LA. After a few days of exploring the city, I was ready to check out 949 Racing, which is just south of the area. And if you're not familiar with 949 Racing, they're a popular Miata performance shop in SoCal. And the reason that I'm pretty familiar with them is that I've read a lot of their technical write-ups online when working on my own car, and I've actually bought and installed their Super Miata Tecna coilovers on my own car. So it was cool to see where that stuff came from. And it was a pretty neat opportunity to get some advice about supercharging my own Miata from Emilio, the owner, who, funny enough, is the one who writes most of those technical write-ups that I've been reading. So it was interesting to get a lot of that knowledge in person for once. Working on my Miata in my driveway has been kind of an oddly isolating experience where I'm spending a lot of my time on internet forums, reading advice, learning about parts that I might want in my own car. So I especially enjoyed getting to meet some of the people that are so deeply rooted in that community, as well as getting a glimpse of some of the work that has to go into making these products. And a big thank you to 949 Racing for letting me visit and giving me a short tour. The next morning, I set out early to try and find a California canyon road and get to experience one of those for the first time. And not long after that, I found myself on Ortega Highway in SoCal. So I was finally excited to actually do a proper canyon run for once. And I've driven a few backcountry roads in Texas that are kind of a bit like this, but nothing compares to the view. And of course that isn't by accident, and that's part of the reason why I'm specifically taking these drives in a really fun convertible, to make the most of it. And with the first leg of my journey over in LA, it was time to go over to Palm Springs, where I'd be meeting up with my family who was flying in to celebrate my 26th birthday.
25 minutes away.
Yeah.
I was just about to turn right.
Yeah.
Miata. Oh, another Miata here. Let me.
Okay. Yeah. And so after a few days of exploring the city and hanging out with my family, I took advantage of the first chance I had to go out and try and find another canyon road. This one's in the mountains just south of Palm Springs and Palm Desert. And at this point, I'm actually kind of starting to get addicted to these drives. This is slowly starting to become the highlights of my vacation. So everywhere I'm at, I'm always starting to look up what canyon roads are in the area. And this was not a shabby way at all to celebrate my birthday. And also, if you're wondering why the exhaust is actually quite audible, it's because this Turo rental actually has a Goodwin Racing Roadster Sport 4 exhaust installed on it, which I was actually surprised how much I enjoyed. Proved to be a pretty cathartic experience to just take a step back from the craziness of the past year, learning to work on my car, and just realize how much I've grown in that time, and also remember what I'm doing this all for, which is for the love of driving. And the way I actually got into Miatas was a Turo rental from just a few weeks before I actually ended up buying my own. So it was a really nice reminder of why I fell in love with these cars in the first place. So after pulling over at the top of this mountain to get some of these shots, I found that the car wouldn't start. Like, I think the battery was dying in the key fob, and the car was not recognizing that there was a key and turning on. Which was quite scary because I was literally at the top of this mountain. So after a while of spamming it and just praying, I got the car to start, and that was it. That was the end of the drive. So from there, without stopping, I drove straight to the gas station to try to go and get another battery. But kind of a funny ending to what was otherwise a really fun drive. So after spending a bit more time in Palm Springs, I was joined by my girlfriend who flew in to celebrate my birthday and join me on the rest of this trip. But I also kind of found that I might have overestimated the size of the trunk in this car, so that created a new challenge. So after struggling with that for a while, it was time to head out. So our plan here is to go to Joshua Tree National Park, right by Palm Springs, and then after that head over to San Diego.
Oh, volcanic activity.
And this trip is actually my very first time traveling or visiting national parks with the convertible, and it really was pretty nice how much more enjoyable that made the trip.
Just not fast enough. The whole world's beating up.
And so with that done, it was time to head down to San Diego and just enjoy the scenery that California has to offer. Once we got to San Diego, I got to go and check out the beach for my first time this trip, which was a really nice experience to do in the middle of the night.
You're a body high.
Alright, it's December 27th morning. I just woke up in San Diego, and I'm heading straight to Goodwin Racing this morning. Don't really have anything to do. I just thought it'd be cool to check out the place and meet the team. So, yeah.
So after a short drive, I made it over to Goodwin Racing, who's a huge Miata parts supplier based out of San Diego. So I was pretty interested to see their operation, and it was a pretty cool opportunity to see a lot of their cars in person. supply is wheels. And I never really thought about the fact that you gotta have a pretty large warehouse to house wheels. And I mean large, like wherever you look, there were wheels and more wheels. So it was a really funny experience.
Here.
And at one point, Greg was able to show me a room that was only wheels. Wherever you look, you are lost in wheels. So that was kind of funny.
What's a warehouse? It's a warehouse. Why is it so white? We bought it. This used to be like a vitamin supplement factory.
So this was like where they had their desks and stuff.
This is where they had the machines and made everything.
Yeah.
And just when I thought I'd seen all the project cars they had one more to show me. A supercharged ND. And a big thanks to Goodwin Racing for taking the time to show me around. It was a really cool experience. And so I spent the rest of the week exploring the city, checking out the zoo, then proceeding to get lost in said zoo, and just getting a feel for the city, which was a really beautiful experience. And so with San Diego over, it was time to head back up north past LA to go and visit Santa Barbara, which would also mean that I would get to drive the convertible on Highway 1 along the beach. So I was looking forward to that.
I'm in my car. Your skin's so soft.
And we were able to make it to the Santa Barbara beach just in time to catch the sunset.
At the sky, so bright, so bright, so bright. If I look tonight at the sky so bright, I'll find your eyes always haunting me at night.
And so the next morning I headed out to go make a quick visit to Mas Miata, who's based in that Santa Barbara area and is a pretty big Miata supplier as well. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a tour at the time, but they're actually supplying the body panel that I'm going to be using to fix my car in the upcoming videos. So it's cool to just meet them and get a feel for where they're based out of. And on the way out of Santa Barbara, we were able to catch another sunset at the beach, this time in the Malibu area, which was one of the most beautiful experiences I've had in a while. And it's kind of surreal making this video now because a lot of this area was very close to the Palisades fires that happened literally just 7 days later. But anyway, you remember how much I struggled to first load up my trunk?
So, to pack the trunk, we gotta take bag number 1, we gotta put it flat and turn it.
Well, I got that down to a science
Eventually.
by this time of the trip.
Turn it. And then you turn it sideways, because if you put it in sideways and turned it, it doesn't fit. There's the only way to get in sideways. Then we take bag number 2, kind of try and fit it in sideways, and then shove it to the back. And then finally, we take the camera bag and we put in this little pocket. And we put in this little pocket, and that leaves us a little spot for snacks. This took 5 minutes the very first time we did this, and now it takes me like 20 seconds.
I was really proud of myself, if you couldn't tell. So,
everything?
on to LA. And this part right here was a little scary. This Airbnb was located in a kind of funny area alongside a cliff in Topanga. So you can only imagine how confusing and kind of terrifying it was to try and actually find this place in the middle of the night when we originally arrived. But even in the daylight, it wasn't honestly any less scarier. But we slowly and safely made it out. And the plan for the morning was to actually go farther north up in Topanga towards Tuna Canyon, where I was told that there was a pretty fun road to drive and that I wanted to check out for myself. And we decided to make a quick stop to enjoy the scenery while we were up there. And then onwards towards Tuna Canyon Road, which I'm told is a pretty fun road, but kind of found it a little sketchier than I expected. Now, I quickly realized that the road was still damp in some areas, so it wasn't worth pushing it hard, and I'm glad I didn't, because this road went on some very interesting cliffs. But either way, it was a pretty cool experience. And I could definitely see what the hype was about. It was a pretty unique road with some really cool views, but it was just a little too damp and I was a little too unfamiliar with it to really want to push it hard. But with that over, it's time to head back to LA and drop off the rental. And so with the rental dropped off, what we're actually going to do is take an Amtrak train to get up to the bay. And this proved to be a great idea because it gave me a day to just take a break from driving and actually be the passenger for once on a trip. And the best part about this train is it goes alongside the coast for a lot of the beginning stretch. So it was nice to just take a vacation from my vacation of driving the Miata. And one of the coolest experiences about this train is that I got to enjoy a 3-course dinner while on it. Sure. And so here we are on the last leg of my trip in the bay. And so after spending a day exploring San Francisco, I picked up my next Miata rental and got ready to head out back to Highway 1 to explore the area near Big Sur. And the fun part about this one is it actually has nice stiffer coilovers on it instead of the stock suspension of the last one. So I was really ready to push the car and enjoy it until I hit this weather. And I'm glad I didn't push it because I passed multiple wrecked cars along the way. So I just took it easy until we got to drier roads. And I didn't exactly plan this part of the trip perfectly. I'd been to Big Sur before as a kid and I knew what the vantage point that I was looking for looked like. So my plan was to just head on Highway 1 and just keep going until I find that. And it turns out this bridge here, Bixby Bridge, is the spot I was looking for. But I didn't realize at the time and I just kept going forward, which was still a really beautiful experience. But the sun was starting to set, so that also gave me an opportunity to take a couple of nice pictures of the car. so I continued to head in the incorrect direction as that sun was setting, and my goal here is to catch the sunset at Big Sur. And it was right around this moment when I got deep into the woods that I realized I had gone the complete wrong way. So after turning back, I rushed to try and make it to the Bixby Bridge just before the sun finally set. And this was a beautiful way to cap off 2.5 weeks of just traveling through California. This trip ended up giving me a really good opportunity to take a step back, take a break, and just reflect on all the progress I've made with all the craziness and stress recently. And on top of that, I thought this trip was going to be more about the experience of driving a Miata, a fun convertible, through California. But I realized what was actually way more enjoyable and important to me was getting to share those experiences with someone else. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.